Hi, I'm Rachel. Welcome to Life on Purpose. I invite you to join in on this journey to live a life of deep meaning and intention. I was visiting a couple of my kids a few weeks ago out in Colorado, and I was there for a Sunday. And Sunday to me is the Sabbath. That is the day that I worship, and I love to worship with others in a congregation. And so I went to the Colorado House of Prayer to join with my daughter and son in law in their congregation. And my daughter was playing the keyboard in the worship music. And I was so excited to see that. She is so musical, and I was grateful that I was there for that. So as I was driving to the Colorado House of Prayer, I was passing all of these churches and worship centers, and I just noticed that their parking lots were filled. And it was something that I just appreciated seeing, that there was so much devotion to set aside some time to recognize that we are part of something much bigger, that we are part of a divine family, and that we have a God who is loving and that we are connected within that. And so it just warmed my heart as I was driving to the worship service. And the music was amazing and uplifting, and I just loved it. And as the man who was speaking was starting the service, he talked about how the congregation was having sort of a celebration because they had been together for several years now and seen some changes in the size of their congregation and also where they met. They met in these different places, and now they had arrived at this Colorado House of Prayer, a beautiful space for their congregation to meet and to worship. And he was talking about how this church was Jesus Christ Church, and it was devoted to him. And that was so heartfelt and sincere, and yet it gave me a little bit of stickiness in my heart, because there are obviously different Christian congregations because people don't all agree on doctrine or on interpretation. So that's where these differences come from. And I have had experiences where people have said, oh no, you don't belong to his church, meaning Jesus Christ Church, or just the contention that comes almost between competing for, no, who is Jesus's actual church? Who is the right one? Because no one wants to be wrong, especially on something so personal. And so I think that stickiness comes from that feeling of competition and ownership. And in that moment, I was really grateful for the question that came to my mind. And what that was, God, what can you teach me about this stickiness of being his church? And I was so grateful for the message that I received about that. I had kind of this image of when my kids were all little, and there would be kind of this competition, maybe in silliness sometimes, but you're my mom. No, you're my mom. No, you're my mom, right? And just playing around and saying things like that. And so what it made me think of was all of my children can claim to be mine. And I can claim that they are mine in equal portion. And even though they are different children in the way that they show up in the world, in their talents, in their focuses, they can all claim to be mine. And that's what it means, I think, to be a family, is to each have your individuality, and that individuality does bring more to the whole. And as I was comparing that to belonging to Him, I loved the thought of that different congregations bring with them different strengths and manifest themselves in different ways. And they can still all claim to be His church, that they are dedicated to the work of Jesus Christ, that their hearts are turned to Him, and that they are trying to live in a Christ-like manner. And in the same way that I would claim my children as mine, I think Jesus Christ can also claim all of these different worship styles and maybe doctrinal differences also as His, because they claim Him as their leader and as their family leader. And so I loved just that thought that came to my mind, the image that came to my mind, and that peace that came to my heart to be like, oh, okay, that makes sense. I can see it in this way. I can have peace about that because I know that they all belong to you. You've got all of them within your grasp and guiding each of them, communicating with each of them to create beautiful experiences. Thank you so much for joining me today. You can check out more over at rachelegbert.com. Your life is too precious to live just by chance or by default. I want you to live your life on purpose. We will see you next time.